It's the only way to be sure.
Until the rest well, in a month from now, this Hollywood picture is gonna give you what you want. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. This is Inside Your Screen, and we're talking all things Snowpiercer. And we are talking Season 2, Episode 8, The Eternal Engineer. I'm joined by my fellow brakeman, Brendan Horgan. How are you doing, sir?
I'm cold. I'm very cold.
Very cold. There was a question I was going to ask you actually, Brendan, in terms of if you found yourself on Snowpiercer, would you feel that you would be a breachman, a brakeman? Would you be part of the tailies? Would you be in first class? Would you be part of hospitality? Where would you find yourself in Snowpiercer?
It would all depend on my backstory, Tony.
No backstory, just your life now, where it is. Like, where would you find yourself?
Right. So, and kind of open doors. I can kind of pick and choose. I can kind of.
Yeah.
I reckon I'd go third class. It looks pretty cool down there. There's loads of the guys from the tail. They've got Chinese down there, Chinese food. It might be Japanese food. I don't know. It's noodles. It's Oriental. So
you'd be a worker bee. You'd be doing the worker bee thing.
Not necessarily. I might take.
You'd have to if you're in third class. You're going to have to be working. You have to be doing something.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Janitorial. Would you be a LJ? And,
no, I might work in trade with. With Big Alice.
More of a Terrence Pike sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. I could see that happening. You'd be the Red.
Yeah.
In Shawshank Redemption sort of style.
Yeah.
You'd be an inmate, but you'd know the way. You'd know the people.
Yeah, work for everyone. Get on with everyone. Just one train.
One train. Yeah, I think I would preferably be like a brakeman. But like Oz from the first series, so I'll be giving blowjobs for Kronos.
Nice, and it sounds about right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. So there you go. Anyway, guys, this is the Eternal Engineer. Brendan, do you have any kind of little comments from people?
We do. We don't have any questions this week, but a couple of comments. So we'll always read out our comments. The first one is from Rubber Ducky, which says, "I'm loving the reviews."
Rubber Ducky, you're the one.
We love doing them, Rubber Ducky. So keep on listening and keep on commenting. And the last one was from Black Johnny, who says, and I think this was on your comment. He says, "Yeah, the old lady looked gangster smoking that cig."
She was a gangster.
Yeah, she was.
I don't know her name, but I kind of don't want to know her name as well. I don't want to look on IMDb, and I don't want to find out the name. She's just old granny gangster, the original OG.
Knowing that we've got season 3 that's coming up, I hope she's in season 3, and it turns out she is a proper gangster, like just running the chrono on the train big time.
You went a bit robotic there, Brendan. Your voice went all kind of synthesized.
Oh, really?
I'm kind of now I'm wondering if you're like part of the Wilford's God module thing. Like, are you part of Snowpiercer? Are you actually part of a module AI?
One train.
Okay, so let's break down the episode. I'll be honest with you, Brendan. I was a little bit hesitant because it's Sam Roach who's the narrative voiceover in this episode. You know what I said last time?
Yeah.
When you introduce a character and his family, and it's like, there's only 1 week till retirement. I kind of thought, oh no. My heart broke a little bit because he played quite a prominent role in this episode as well. But he's talking about impending civil war. Breachman bodies are being disposed of as the crew stands silently giving their vigil. I had a bit of a problem with that as well, by the way. I just want to kind of highlight this. Now, Snowpiercer is a kind of train that doesn't let anything go to waste. And I could be wrong when I say this, but I kind of thought in the first series, when there was someone who died, they would keep the bodies for like nutrition and for like fertile soil. Is that right? Am I right in saying that? Am I thinking of the movie maybe? I could be wrong. I could be possibly wrong, but
it's definitely in the movie. But yeah, I think I'm not 100% sure. They definitely haven't shown bodies being thrown off the train before.
No, and I know like visually it was quite a nice narrative arc to get us into the kind of main intro and whatnot, but I just thought it was a bit of a waste.
Maybe the concept is that it was the tailies that they would use. So if there was ever, they'd use the tailies bodies for that. But, if you're in third, second or first class, you've kind of paid your way onto the train. So, you'll get a kind of almost like a funeral.
Yeah. I suppose you're right there. So really, this episode is about the reversal of fortunes and how, Leighton's been in control for so long, and in this one episode, it just all spirals out of control for him here. The loyalties are being tested of like who's for Mr. Wilford and who's for Leighton. There's a leak on the train that floods some of the cars on Big Alice. Alex tries to talk about the breach, and Wilford's just kind of sitting there with his little paper, with his little pipe, and he's just shrugging it off, going, it's okay, it's all fine, it's all part of his master plan. We get to see Josie again, who's recovered from her previous injuries, and she's looking very good now. She's got like a few little bumps and bruises on her face, and she's got half an eyebrow on one side, but she's okay. Yeah, and I suppose like really this episode is all about Wilford's plans coming to fruition. What did you think, Brent?
Yeah, really good summary there. I don't know what I thought of the episode now. Either it's one of two things. I didn't come away with it with a kind of positive outlook, but then I don't know whether that's because of the outcome of the episode and then the storyline, or I just wasn't overly fond on the episode overall.
Okay.
Do you know, in regards to it's kind of a sad ending in regards to, Wilford has taken power, the bad guy's kind of got his way.
This is the dark before the dawn, maybe.
And I wasn't sure, or was it just, obviously I wasn't happy about that because, I'm all about the kind of Leighton, I'm team Leighton, man. It just wasn't a great episode, but I think it's probably the earlier. I think it is probably just I was just sad to see.
This is where I disagree with you, because I think it was a great episode. Yeah,
I think it probably is just story wise how easily they let him take it. But we will get. Well, that was.
I was going to say that is a question I was going to ask you a bit later on. Because there is that, but yeah, we will get to that later on. Okay, so let's talk about a few things in between first. So we have the train that's essentially breaking down. There's leaks on the train. So yeah, we find this there's flooding on the train. We find out that Mr. Wilford has sent Icy Bob out to sabotage a certain component of the train that lets in the kind of filter of the snow. So going back from the last episode, he perceives that all the breachmen have died, but one still remains. What's his name? Bolshevik. I can't even say it. Bolshevik.
Yeah, they call
Breachman Bolshevik, but they call him
Boki or Boki.
Yeah, Boki. So Leighton has the kind of undue responsibility to ask Bolshevik to go out, and he's the one remaining breachman to kind of go out and see if he can see what the problem is. He does, and there's a kind of poignant scene there as well where he goes out, and quite a cinematic scene as well, where he goes out to he finds that this is like big rusty, in want of a better word, camping tent peg.
Yeah.
in the machinery. He takes it out, he comes back, and then he kind of realizes here's a guy who's been Mr. Wilford's general dog's body for like the last 30 years, and he realizes now that he's been lying to him. So he gives Leighton the Wilford insignia that are given to all breachmen when they return back from the outside as a kind of respectful totem, if you will. And so we've got Bolshevik on Leighton's side, and there's still, even though the pieces are now falling in its place, and Wilford's making his kind of like grand scheme plan, moving forward, taking control, play. We still see that Leighton's got some people on his side, and I like that as well.
Yeah, I thought that was a really prominent scene and an important one, because I think we're definitely seeing Boki get involved big time. Is it Boki or Boki? Boki. We'll stick with Boki.
We'll go Boki.
Boki or Boki?
I think I want to see Boki. I'm going to see Boki. I'm going to see Boki and strong lads up against Icy Bob.
Yeah,
Icy Bob's now being incapacitated, sort of thing.
That's the thing. So, but he'll definitely get involved in our final episode, because I think it's going to kick off in the final. Well, it will. We all know that. It's going to kick off, and I thought that was quite cool. I liked it. It was good to actually see that and he was quite a prominent, that such a huge supporter of Wilford his whole life. He worked. His dad worked for Wilford on the railway, on the tracks, and he worked from a kid on it. So to him to actually work out and see that shit, this Wilford is up to no good, and
But that was all his bros and sisters, like that was his family, like the Breachman family, like all got murdered.
Yeah.
So his loyalty's gone out. Like he's Team Leighton. But then what basically happens, the kind of consequence from that is that Engineer Ben and Javier, they've realized that the hydrogen levels are fluctuating on Snowpiercer. So they find out that there's this particular God module, is what they call it, from Wilford's design, that they're unable to fix because it's the fuse is blown basically. And the only other person that has the other God module is, you guessed it, Mr. Wilford. So they have to let him on board because he's the only one that can repair the glitch. Melanie's out now. She's still out of the count at the moment. So he's ushered across the border carefully, not wanting to kind of arouse any suspicion because of his kind of like stooges that are in place and his kind of like cult type people that still follow the banner of Wilford. And yeah, this was the kind of scene where it kind of, for me, flipped it on its side sort of thing, because in a kind of weird way, if you want to think that the first series was about physical revolution, this was internal revolution. This was Wilford manipulating for so many episodes, and this is what I thought all came to like the forefront now. This is what all came, his mechanical scheming has all come now to this moment. And he basically does it with relish. Yeah, I've got to kind of tip my hat to the acting of Daveed Diggs and Sean Bean in this particular episode, because there is a moment where you see like Sean Bean, like he's looking at his train, and that's his train, and he hasn't seen it for so many years, and there's a point where he puts his hand on one of the insignias and said, "Oh, I'm just sentimental." And there's this kind of opulent sort of way that he is, that he's just like panhandling and everything. But there is a kind of moment where the seriousness does come to a fray, where they've got literally minutes to save the train, and his actual skill as an engineer, because that's what I think we've forgotten, that actually Wilford is an engineer in his own kind of right. Like, he may have been the kind of money behind this, but he still has a kind of brain here, and that's what essentially rocks Leighton's world, is when he actually fixes the train, but doesn't do it in a kind of devious way. Like, he does it in a kind of way because Melanie did some kind of like sort of circuitry years back, and that's what initially kind of messes up his God module, and he has to kind of reroute wires and stuff like that. So he's essentially taking charge of the situation because Leighton doesn't know how to.
Yeah, and Javi seems to unable to do it, and yeah, it shows just that he isn't just a manipulator. And it was interesting because we did kind of get a perception before that Melanie was kind of the brains behind it all.
Yeah,
but he clearly is, as you said, an engineer.
Yeah, I mean, he has like his own, and that was something that I think was purposely sort of not shown to us to begin with for this particular moment. I mean, did he cause this situation? Of course he did. Would he risk the lives of everyone on Snowpiercer and potentially Big Alice just to kind of gain control? Yes, he would. He's that kind of egotistical despot. And that's what I think we're really at the core here is, I think Roach sort of says it best when he's having his confliction with his wife. Like, his wife clearly wants to be a Wilford fan. She doesn't know where his husband lies. And it becomes this apparent episode where he says this one poignant sort of part where he's like, I can't remember what a good man is. And like, Leighton is that good man. I don't want to go back to chaos, not chaos, but a controlled kind of, he says about the ports in the windows, and like, he specifically designed ports to kind of take people's hands off if needed. And I think that's really the crux of this episode as well, is like, even though there's kind of there's still people whose, let's say, areas we are a bit grey. I'm talking Miss Audrey in this, and that was leading into, what do you think of Miss Audrey, Brendan? Do you think she has gone fully to the dark side, or do you think she's still making a ploy?
I don't know how Wilford has the train, so she seems to have turned to the dark side. What's there to achieve now? If she hadn't turned, then she would have tried to stop Wilford getting the train, but now Wilford gets the train. Do you know, like, and if they go against that, then it's a flaw. In my mind, it's a flawed thought process, because why would you give something up on the, you know, she has no idea what the consequences might be, so why would you give it up to win it back? You know, why would you let Wilford take the train? You know, and now there's, by all accounts, it seems we're going to assume that all the tailies are back in the tail, although I'm not sure, because that seems to be a no man's land also between Big Alice, but we'll see. He's got the engine now, so he doesn't necessarily need Big Alice. I think she's turned. I
think she's still on Team Leighton. I just think she had to go, like, so, you know, like those kind of like cop dramas where you have to go so deep undercover you don't really recognize who you are anymore. I think it's one of those type of ones. I think the only way that she would get Wilford to trust her was to kind of essentially go back to the way she was pre End of Days type way, where they obviously had this kind of really fucked up relationship, but also at the same time she had his ear. And I think she's doing this, and I'm hoping there will be a pivotal moment in the last 2 episodes where she turns around and she kind of sticks it to him somehow, and she's like, I never liked you, kind of thing.
It would be it would be flawed.
Do you think it would be flawed? I think she's he's
got the train. He has it.
I know, but rebellion, you know, still
Leighton's now, as far as we can tell, going to Big Alice. What if, and we know that's not happening, but again, he now has the train. They're all for him. That, you know, he has the backing of the train. Right, Leighton's dead. First thing, we'll just chuck him out of the train. He's dead. Right, well, that goes. Right, we're not letting Melanie back on the train because we don't need her. Nice, that's done.
He has played it. He has played them all like a fiddle in that respect. Like, he's got rid of all the kind of main contenders for his throne.
But more with Miss Audrey. If she then all of a sudden this is part of a plan, then it's a really flawed plan, Miss Audrey. I think she's turned, personally.
Okay, well,
to the dark.
That'll be interesting. I think she's gonna. So as we were saying, like, he's. I'm
gonna say it. The bitch. She's turned.
Wow.
And watch. Okay. You know what? And you wait. And I really hope the final episodes, the double episode, that we see a serious catfight between her and Ruth tears her eyes out.
Yeah. Okay. Why so much Ruth?
You know, Ruth is in this episode we saw it as well. They went quite deep in how much, you know, this is dark. Ruth. I
just think, Brendan, you want to see Ruth kind of get all ripped up and, like, you know, have show some skin.
Anyone's going to get revenge on the turncoat, the bitch.
If there's anyone, it's going to be. Well, I know
fatality. Who else?
All right, maybe, but no, I don't see. I mean, I don't see that happening. But if it does, great, fantastic. I'm all for it. But I mean, we were talking about earlier, like, Wilford's kind of plan, his machinations have come into effect now. He's been able to get Melanie off the train without really having to get her off. Like, she kind of self-sacrificed herself because she was the only one that could. She's kind of, well, as far as we know, turned Audrey back to his team. Roach in this episode as well, like, anyone who he doesn't see as loyal to him, he just instantly, like, Night of the Long Knives, gets rid of. Even Alex, to a certain extent, like, he's taken her out of the equation. He's not telling her what his plans are anymore. Leighton, so he's kind of completely wiped the board, and he's all done it from Big Alice. He's all done it from a kind of manipulative sort of chessboard kind of way. And I want to talk about Josie for a second, because I think, as you said, like, I think Josie's going to become another pivotal part as well. I think in this episode you kind of find out that she's maybe, you know, Wilford's kind of intentions for her are to be a kind of replacement Icy Bob, and we see that kind of when she wakes up and she kind of she finds out that she's kind of resistant to cold, in a kind of way. I'm not sure what the kind of extent is of her kind of, ice resistant powers, if you will. But she basically sticks a hand out of the train, which we all know is like certain within a couple of seconds, your ice becomes like an icicle and then snaps off. She brings it back in, and she has this kind of, I didn't know if it was more the kind of case of she was shocked that she didn't feel the kind of pain, or there was kind of pain and she was kind of dealing with it, but it wasn't as bad as she thought it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there was two things going on there that I wasn't sure of, and the first one was it that, because we have the scene at the start where Wilford does the experiment with her hands, where he puts a false hand and he's kind of touching her hands, and he's saying, you can control pain like this if you can feel, these where her arm's been chopped off type thing. And I wasn't sure whether or not it was the concept of it was her testing that, but then also being shocked by the fact that her hand didn't freeze, or both. So I was a little bit confused by that. I was also a little bit, the confusing part was kind of like when you look at Icy Bob and how he looks and how big he is and how, his skin, he looks like the Thing, from the Fantastic Four. He really looks, or Frankenstein, he really looks put together and thick. Whereas Josie seems to have, is now resistant to cold, just like he is to an extent. Obviously, you're going on the assumption that the longer you're out there, the worse. So if she would have kept her hand out for longer, it would have eventually kind of hurt. I don't know. It was weird. Like, is she completely cold resistant now? Is she different to Icy Bob? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, it would make sense because the kind of scientists have been experimenting on him for so long. They've maybe perfected the gloop treatment to an extent where if someone did have, in this case, the reverse of like 3rd degree burns, but the kind of frostbite, then perhaps maybe. So I'm wondering what role she's going to play in the future episodes, if not series, if she survives that long. To the point of, will she be able to... I'm thinking there might be a scene where Leighton's maybe thrown off Snowpiercer. She has to kind of go get him. It's like a kind of couple of seconds, but something like that. Do you know what I mean?
No, Leighton's not getting... nobody's getting thrown off Snowpiercer.
Or there's going to be some kind of moment where someone subjected to like severe cold and she has to rescue someone. That's what I kind of see in this.
Possibly Melanie.
Yeah. Well, yes. We know from the last 2 episodes that Snowpiercer did go past her. We haven't actually caught up to time as well, have we? In that respect,
not yet. No.
So we'll see what happens here. But I want to talk about as well, like that kind of third arc part as well, where Wilford does come on the train. And there's a great moment where you do see Leighton's, like, his face. It's just like the camera is centered on his face. And you have this like brilliant lighting, the kind of red sort of like lighting going on as he realizes that his whole kind of like control over is now just kind of slipped away completely. The carpet has been pulled from underneath him, and he just knows that he's just like lost control. I thought it was a brilliant scene.
Yeah, it was done really well, and it was done without it was done with very little dialogue from Leighton. And like you said, Daveed Diggs didn't need lines to pull that off. His acting without speaking is fantastic. Just his facial expressions, and like you said, it's like this dawning on him. And I like the fact that at the end as well, they also showed Bess, and they showed Roach, and they showed Ruth at the same time. They showed Ruth, and it was this kind of dawning that Wilford has won.
But do you think there's also a kind of relief there as well? That's because of what I saw in it. Because, he's given up a lot to get to where he is now. Like, he's lost friends, he's lost lovers, he's lost everything in this kind of build-up. And he's essentially been the unscripted warrior spokesman for the tailies. And so you have to kind of think, maybe he does want Wilford to kind of take over a little bit. To take control. I don't know.
Possibly. He didn't resist, did he?
Well, that's it. That's
He
what I
didn't
meant by, like,
resist.
you know.
And do you know what? And because we're on that now, I'll be honest with you, that was a bit of a bugbear of that. They time jumped. They did have a little time jump where kind of Wilford. Well, they went from Wilford kind of, the engine started and everyone's yay, and like you said, that dawning moment, and we had those flashes, and then we just cut to Leighton in handcuffs in custody.
Yeah, that's true, actually. But I think
so. It was kind of like, hold on, where's the tail?
Yeah, I think
Where's
they
the revolution?
certain
Remember the
sacrifices
tail?
have to be made because, let's be honest.
But it was too easy. I have to pick up on this with, like, where are the tail? What are the tailies doing? The tailies have just let this happen and back down, and obviously we're not fully aware of what's going on the train. Are they all now back in the tail? What's going on? But the revolution that won.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
All of a sudden have just gone, okay, right, yeah, we're off back down to the tail. Sorry, we won't disturb you again. No.
I think for dramatic impact, they had to kind of, for this episode, they had to kind of make out that, like, this was like the as I said, like before, like the dark before the dawn. They had to show that it was Wilford, like everyone cheering for him. If they showed the tailies, that probably would have put it overboard. But it's like there's two characters once again that we mentioned off screen of this, like Terrence, the kind of black market third class guy. He hasn't been mentioned at all since his death. Like LJ and Oz, like they had quite a tender moment in this, but at no point has his death been mentioned since Pike killed him.
No. Other than obviously just the acknowledgement of Leighton that he'd pushed Pike over the edge.
But like no one else has mentioned that. And also with Miles again, we have to address the fact that the child Miles is nowhere to be seen. I think there's gonna be a few plot holes because of the fact that they're trying to jam pack in so much information. And I think the resonance of Leighton's defeat and essentially Wilford taking control had to take precedent in this episode. So there probably is so much cutting room floor footage of, like, as you said, like tailies like going, oh no, this is bad, but they couldn't show it. I don't know for time purposes or whatnot.
Well, I don't mean like, oh no.
I'm paraphrasing, but
I mean war. I mean physical war. Get the weapons, and where the hell do you think you're going? No.
Maybe they'll just tail between their legs, sink back to the tail end of the Snowpiercer, and I don't know. But it's not really the tail end of Snowpiercer anymore. Well, it's the Borderlands.
That's what Leighton did.
So gonna have to ask Brendan, the next episode, or episodes plural, because it's a double feature. What are your predictions?
Oh dear. Well, there's going to be.
Sorry, am I keeping you up, Brendan?
It was, as I said, it's cold. Right, it's cold. Okay, there was something stuck in the side of the train, so I had to go out and fix it.
Yeah. Got you a bit sleepy afterwards.
Obviously, it's the grand finale of the season. So, what's going to happen?
Give us your grand finale predictions, Brendan.
Well, for some reason, the rebellion will have to start again because we're going to have to get Leighton out of prison, and to get Leighton out of prison, that means there has to be a plan, and for there to be a plan, there needs to be a team, and for there to be a team, that team needs to be put in place. So I think there's going to be a lot of team building in the next kind of couple of episodes. I reckon Roach, Till, I reckon Pike, I reckon Josie. I think Josie will possibly, because remember, she's in Big Alice. She's kind of, I think Josie's it will be the one to kind of spark the revolution again, to try and get Leighton and save Leighton and get Leighton out. The big battle, my prediction was wrong. I think it's all going to be about getting Melanie back on the train. And I think that might be what sparks the new revolution. The fact that, because what's annoyed me, and I'm going to go quite into detail here, so I do apologize, but like things that annoyed me was how the tail didn't do anything. And I mentioned last week, even this episode, you've got these third class characters who are part of actually the revolution. They helped with the tail, and they've just joined Wilford, and they're like, yeah, Team Wilford all of a sudden. And what I think will possibly open a lot of characters' eyes, which might spark this new revolution, is the fact that Sean Wilford will try to stop Melanie getting on the train, and that will be in essence what will kind of spark the new revolution. And I mean, because there's got to be it's a finale, so we've got to have some action. It seems Wilford has already kind of put a little army in place already. Like there was armed brakemen, wasn't there, who kind of walked with Roach. So already we can see there's been a little time jump, and he's got kind of some kind of law and order in place. You might even have the tailies all back in the tail again. And yeah, I think the Cole not allowing Melanie back on the train is what will spark the new revolution. And I think Leighton will be saved by the likes of Ruth. Big Bob or Icy Bob is definitely joining the tail and fighting against Wilford, as is Bocky. And we're going to lose some good friends, I think, in the next couple of episodes. I think we always expect a few significant or a significant character to die. So I just really hope it's not Ruth. I hope Ruth kicks the shit out of Miss Audrey. That would be really cool to see.
You really got it in for Miss Audrey, haven't you?
Dude, she's, you know what I mean? You can't turn your back on.
I think she's playing the long game. I think she's playing the long game.
As I said, we're not going back there, Tony. We're not going back.
Okay.
She is playing the long game. She's playing a really shit and selfish long game. And yeah, hopefully the episode ends with Melanie back on the train.
Yeah, I think the next episode 9, will be essentially more. I think it will be Wilford throwing his weight around, becoming the conductor of the orchestra, as he said so sublimely in this episode. I think, there will be more, I think, Alex, I think Josie, Zara, I'm not sure where she's going to come into this, but I think, I think the women are going to, I think the women of Snowpiercer and Ruth, they're all going to come together, and they're going to have like this kind of like female badassery plot to save Leighton, get Bolsheviks on the team, get Icy Bob on the team, and they're gonna stage their own coup. The end of that episode will be maybe Melanie coming back on board. If not, then it will literally be the finale. The kind of cliffhanger will be what we saw from Melanie's episode, that the train will go past, she goes on her knees, she's like, oh no, something will happen then, like something externally foresee sort of way.
I'll be pissed off if Melanie getting on or off the train isn't resolved in this season. I'll be honest with you. They've got 2 episodes. It's a double episode, so it's pretty much an hour and 40 minutes, maybe an hour and 15 minutes worth of time they've got to play with there. So I would be pissed off if Melanie isn't on the train, or this season ends with that scene of Melanie outside. That would annoy me.
Well, we have until next week to find out. So we're going to wrap it up there, I think, Brendan. But tell our viewers where they can find us, what they can see, and if they have any kind of future episodes for any other kind of TV shows, because this is wrapping up now soon, so we're going to have to go on something else. Tell us what you think of other episodes that we can potentially have a little chinwag with.
Yeah, if you've got any recommendations of decent shows to watch, we'd like a good weekly. So if there's one that's on once a week that we could kind of start reviewing, or you think is worth watching and doing a review of, please let us know in the comments. Guys, if you're listening on YouTube, you've found us already, but if you're not, search us on anywhere with Inside Your Screen podcast, and all our stuff will come up there. We've got all our podcasts up there, including our Snowpiercer reviews. We've got loads of TV show reviews. Tony is an expert in independent PC games, so he's got loads of reviews on there, and loads of kind of movie and horror reviews on there, and all our podcasts are there. If you just want the audio of our podcast, we're at all the major outlets. We're on Apple Music, iTunes, whatever you want to call it. We're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're everywhere where you can get a podcast. Again, just search Inside Your Screen podcast. And if you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, we are at Inside Your Screen with a UR for your, so Inside UR Screen. And yeah, let us know what you thought about our review of this episode. If you've got any questions or any theories of how the series is going to end, let us know. And remember, and do you remember this as well, Tony, there is no episode of Snowpiercer next week. They're actually making us wait 2 weeks for the season finale.
Oh, god damn.
We will be back in 2 weeks with the final episode review.
All right, so maybe we'll find something else to indulge your time with in that space.
Stay warm.
Inside Your Screen.